A man that needs no introduction here is Nationals legend Jayson Werth. We're going to get into all things Washington Nationals, some of his past stories here in DC, but also his new venture into sports horse racing.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And again, there is no introduction needed. Today, we are joined by Nats legend Jayson Werth. Jayson, how are we doing, man?
Hey, we're doing. How's it going?
I'm doing well, man. And you know what? Like, people think of you back in 2012, Game 4 NLDS. They think of you hitting that walk-off home run. But now, the reason people think of you is you own horses. You were in the Kentucky Derby last year. It's like the one thing that I'm a casual horse racing fan. I turn on, I see the television, and Jayson Werth is on my TV. What got you into horse racing to begin with? Because that was not on my bingo card in 2024, man.
Yeah, it wasn't mine either. I started playing golf with some guys down in Florida that owned some Florida breds, and just kind of slowly tiptoed into it. Had a couple nice fillies that were decent runners, and then got a chance on a horse named Dornick to own a little piece of it. And it was one of those things where it was like, let's see how this goes. Let's see where this sort of thing can take us. And it took us to
Kentucky
Churchill,
Derby.
yeah, on the first Saturday of May, and that was amazing. He didn't have a great, he drew the one post, so he wasn't in a great spot for him. Ran 10th in the Derby, and then came back in the Belmont, and really, winning the Belmont, winning a classic race, one of the big three, is turns out it's a pretty life-changing experience. So from there, we've started a horse racing venture syndicate called Icon Racing. I actually have another horse, Flying Mohawk, that grabbed 50 Derby points in the Jeff Ruby Stakes, and is actually already in Louisville for getting ready for the Kentucky Derby this year. So back-to-back years in the Kentucky Derby. Who would have thought it? Really, I bought one colt, and he went to the Derby. I bought two more colts, and one of those two is going to the Derby. So we're enjoying some good luck here, and we started a partnership to bring new people, new owners into the sport of horse racing. It's an unbelievable sport. Chasing the dream and following these horses around. They're truly incredible animals, creatures, and the people in the sport are just are amazing too. It's a great thing to be a part of.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, horse racing is just one of those things, like it's an American pastime at this point. Like, I'm sure you probably grew up going around the TV. I don't know if you grew up into horse racing, but like similar to me, I just turned on the Kentucky Derby and I would watch every single year. I knew nothing about them. And now in today's game, like you can now gamble on it. And I don't know about you, but I don't think you can, but I'm a big gambler. I like gambling on it. So of course we'll be betting on your horse, but we'll get more into that a little bit later on here, Jayson. I mean, right now with like where the Nationals are, they're in an interesting spot. And I do want to get into this a little bit here and kind of take you back to 2011 when you first signed with the Washington Nationals. And that was kind of one of those things, like I remember it was kind of out of left field. The Nationals weren't really considered to be players in that year's free agency market, but going into that offseason, did you have the Nationals on your radar when you signed that pretty big deal with them back in 2011?
Yeah. Scott Boras was my agent at the time, and he, the Lerners and Mike Rizzo all had this vision of the Washington Nationals being ready to go. If you remember, they're coming off 200 lost seasons going back into.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah. And it wasn't a popular move by me. It wasn't a popular move by them, but we proved that it was the right move. I mean, we finished right at about 500 in 2011. I think a half a game shy. If we would have had that other half a game, we would have finished 500. Best team in baseball in 2012, and then from 2012 to 2019, I think we're the best team in the National League. So you got to have a vision. You got to have, you got to really know your system, and that was a situation when I signed with Washington. My other team, I could have went to Boston. I had dreams of being a Boston Red Sox since I was a kid, and they were right there till the end. But the learners came in and sweetened the pot a little bit with a no trade. And instead of an option year, they guaranteed it, and the money was right. It was similar deals, but with a no trade. And an extra year. I was stupid not to come to Washington and be part of a championship caliber organization and a championship caliber team year in year out. So that was kind of the gist of it. It was more just that no trade clause that brought me to Washington.
Yeah, you know what? Like that makes sense because I mean, again, like you have to go out and get yours. And the Nationals, like they sold you on a vision. And it's kind of something I wanted to hit on next here is like at that time, you knew Bryce Harper was coming up momentarily. You knew Steven Strasburg was going to be coming back from Tommy John here relatively soon. But behind closed doors, like what was the vision that Mike Rizzo and the Lerner family at that time, what did they kind of sell you on with this team? Like what kind of got you the hook to get in here in DC?
It was all the farm system, the talent, um, the vision, and it was basically they said we're going to win. We're going to do what it takes to win. Now I think they could have done more to win. There was years where the 2012, and I talk about this on my podcast now. I got my new podcast.
Of
I'll
course.
plug my podcast, Off the
Plug
Rail
it.
podcast. Me and Sean Kelly talking horse racing, and it's a little bit of clubhouse talk and some toilet humor, but it's a good time. But we talked about this the other day, where in 2012, the Strasburg shutdown, it was. I went in and talked to Davey in spring training because they started him on opening day of spring training, right? And it was like, why are we starting Strauss opening day of spring training if he's got a limit? And it was just one of those things. He's like, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So maybe we were better than people thought, earlier than we thought, even within the organization. But a little forethought there, we could have started Strauss a little later, or if you knew you're going to shut a guy down like that, you go out and you go get a big arm, or you go get a big bullpen guy. Now they didn't do as well as that as I would like them to. Obviously, there's financial reasons and all that, but in 2019, I feel like they did. Right, they went out and they got everybody. They went out and got they got more, and they added to an already good team. When you look at the Nationals now, there's a lot of young talent, right? They maybe they needed a little. I mean, everybody always needs more bullpen help. But I think what they're lacking right now is that Jayson Werth, Adam LaRoche type signing that bring in those two big name free agents and have some veteran leadership within the clubhouse. I think a lot of this falls on Davey sometimes. But it's tough. It's tough when you don't have some veteran leadership within the clubhouse.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that this offseason, Jason, and you just kind of hit it on the head there. Like, we all expected this to be the offseason to go and get that Jayson Werth, to go and get that veteran leader who has won a World Series, who has done it in the postseason in big moments, and the Nationals simply did not do that. So, like, just from the outside looking in, it sounds as if that, like, you feel as if that right now, or really this past offseason, was the time to go in and add that veteran leader to help James Wood, to help Dylan Cruz, and just to be a leader in this clubhouse, because there's a lot of puppies, man. Like, these are young dogs in this clubhouse, and they needed some guidance here. It just feels as if they don't really have that at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, right? I mean, there's no telling. Like, just as unpopular as signing me in 2011 was, everybody was like, "Oh, they're not ready." Mute this thing.
All good, all good.
Sorry about that. So I think a little bit back there in 2011 was like, oh, they're not ready for that. So the timing is everything, and I do know that I believe in Mike Rizzo and his staff and those guys that they're pulling strings and making decisions. So if they didn't do it, I guarantee you they had reasons for it. Obviously, as a fan, as Nats fan, and everything else, you want them to go for it every year. But in today's game, that's just not it's not the way it's done. So we'll see. I mean, maybe they got some tricks up their sleeve, but it's up to the guys in the clubhouse. So those 25 guys that walk through those doors every day, put the uniform on. It's up to them to get the job done. If you look at that 2011 team, that first year I was there, I mean that wasn't as talented as a team. Kind of young guys, some up and comer guys, but those guys, they got the message and they figured out what was going on. And it takes 25 guys going in one direction. Talent doesn't always get you there. And these guys got a lot of talent, but that's not all that that it takes to win. So sometimes you need the right people in the clubhouse for sure.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, you're just mentioning the 2011 Nationals, Jason, and that was actually like one of those. It was a weird year, and I'm gonna bring up a name that you probably have not heard about in quite some time. Jim Riggleman. What went on with him just quitting mid-season, and what was the clubhouse like after you find out that he just quit on the team after they just got above 500? Like, what was that like?
I don't know if I've ever really. Well, I'm sure we talked about it at the time. It's been a long time since anybody's brought this up. But the funny part about that is I think Jim thought that now's the time. We were hot, we were rolling, and I think we were coming off a 10-game win streak at home, or something like that. It was.
You guys were hot. I remember it.
Yeah, maybe we swept the homestand or something, but we were playing good baseball, and I think Jim thought it's now or never. Like you're either I've done all I can to get myself in position. Like you're either going to extend me right now or I'm not being extended. And I think he took a stance, and Mike called his bluff, and he didn't get on the bus. That's
like unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. But Jim kind of got a bad rap. I think I don't think he was never a bad guy. I just don't know if he was in the plans long term with the Nats, and I think he felt that way, and so he thought that was his time to he had leverage, and he played his cards, and I don't know if it didn't work out or not, but that's what happened. It was just one of those things.
Yeah, like I was thinking about this question. I was like, man, like what are some things I could ask Jayson here? And I was like, well, I mean, first and foremost, kind of like what you see is kind of what you get with you, which is I think a lot of fans respect about you, and like you just kind of tell it how it is. And I was like, well, Jim Riggleman is like one of those names where Nationals fans just forget about, and it's because what happened in 2012. But I mean, what was your reaction though in the clubhouse when he first steps away? Like, did you find out just kind of like everyone else did that like Mike Rizzo took the podium?
I think we were like we were all getting shouted up and getting on the bus. Like we were still celebrating we were riding the highs, and it was like I remember being on the bus and like hearing these rumors, and like we're like are you. He really didn't get on the bus, huh? Like, are you like, we found out he got Mike whacked him. We're like, oh, all right, I guess we're going on the road with no manager. Let's go.
I mean, it's an unbelievable thing to look back at. And like, I'm sure living in that moment, I mean, it just had to have been like, oh my God, like we just got above 500. And I mean, that was your first season here in DC. Were you just kind of thinking to yourself like, oh my God, like this is going to throw everything off here? Because I mean, your manager just quitting mid-season. It's tough.
At that point in time, I mean, the 2011 season for me was tough. I went from being on the best team in baseball for 4 years of Philly with a bunch of guys my age, veteran team, built to win. Getting older, I had my one chance and I took it. So I knew the situation, but coming to Washington, it was things were a mess when I got there in 2011. Yeah. There was a lot of things that had to be figured out, and that was part of the deal too. I mean, I knew that coming in, so it wasn't like I didn't know what I signed up for, but it kind of felt like a little bit of a circus at times. Getting stuff going the right direction. I mean, even the stuff as simple as like the food and the what we're feeding our athletes. It didn't seem like that would be a tough thing to do, but we got it took some time to get that right. But there's other stuff like just hitting the wrong baseballs in batting practice. It could see why they had lost 100 games the 2 previous seasons, and it was part of my job to get it right, and we did. But I think that whole thing was just one more tent around a 3-ring circus at times, but we got it right. The important thing is we got it right, and we became a winning franchise. Now, that led to them winning that World Series in 2019. Since then, we're kind of back in this rut of losing baseball, losing seasons. I don't get that. I didn't play on losing teams. I played on winning teams. I played on good teams. I went to the playoffs almost every year. So, I think that sometimes you got to kind of, the guys in the clubhouse need to look themselves in the mirror and figure out why we're not winning.
Take a quick time out from this Jayson Werth interview and tell you about some of our friends over at Amazon Fire TV. And did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6. And of course, as easy as you stream your favorite shows, it's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. And with Wi-Fi 6/60 and auto low latency mode, advanced technology, Fire TV Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning fast speeds. You need to stay competitive, and head to Amazon.com/Fire TV locked on to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K second gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max first and second gen, and Fire TV Cube. Now, let me tell you guys about some of our very good friends over at Gametime. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live, and the crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Gametime makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guaranteed, Gametime takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as Gametime gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. And Gametime is the official ticketing partner of Locked On, and as the Nationals season, they have started and it is here. You can help grab tickets with our friends at Gametime. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Yeah, I mean, I think like you just brought it back into baseball there. Like the Nationals right now in 2025, I mean, 2 nights ago, they got their asses kicked against the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, the Pirates are a complete mess right now. We talked about that on this podcast. It was just a terrible game. Last night, they went in. James Wood hit a 445-foot home run dead center in 45-degree weather. I mean, just unbelievable power. And Jason, I do want to ask about James Wood here real quick, because you were down in spring training. You saw him face-to-face in person. What did you make of James Wood? And he's, number one, just being 6'7", and number two, just the ball player that this guy is, being 22 years old.
Yeah.
How incredible is he?
I love this kid. So he went to high school down at IMG Academy. We were down there. My son Jackson went to school down there. They were classmates, and I got to see him play in high school. And at the time, I thought, he's a highly touted kid. He's got a lot of talent, and he was not playing up to his potential. He was kind of still growing into his body. Obviously, he was a first-round pick, but I mean, I think he hit low 200s, like 240 his senior year of high school, and he had a lot of strikeouts. And but I saw a lot of potential, and I knew the makeup of him. And what the type of kid he was. So I was pulling for him, and I've been pulling for him. But to see him, grow into this type of caliber, perennial all-star, just with the demeanor, he reminds me a lot of Harold Baines. I played with Harold Baines when I was just coming up with the Orioles as a kid, and same type of demeanor, and Harold Baines was one of the best left-hand hitting outfielders of all time. So that's my comp for him. So I want to see him do good.
That's incredible.
He's got the talent. He's got the makeup. And he's my Eminem brother. You know, it's one of them things. I'm going for him.
There we go, man. Hey, before we only got a few more minutes here with Jayson Werth, Nats legend here in town. I mean, Jason, I do want to ask about this real quick. Uh, you obviously coming from the Philadelphia Phillies, and you came over here. You kind of were the mentor for Bryce Harper, and right now in town, I don't know how much you've been watching or how much you've been seeing, but the loudest that Nationals Park gets is when Bryce Harper comes into town. And like on opening day, the loudest pop in the crowd was when Bryce Harper came up, and Nats fans till this day boo the crap out of this guy. What do you kind of make of that? Because you went to Philly, you got booed. I mean, what do you kind of you got booed a lot, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
What do you make of Nats fans still booing?
That's great. I wonder. So over that time from 2011 to 2017, I went to Philadelphia and I got booed unmercifully.
Yeah.
And I was the best. I was the number one player, visiting player in almost every category as a visiting player in Citizens Bank Park. I wonder how Bryce stacks up, and I know
Oh,
because I know
he kills us. I'll tell you that right now. He
I
kills us.
guarantee it. I guarantee it. Me and Bryce are we're similar. I got that kid when he was 19. I feel like I raised that kid. He was tough at times. I mean, I'm so happy for him to see what the type of person he's grown into, and the player and the father and everything. I don't follow him on social media, thank God. But
Yeah, I was gonna say he makes TikToks now, Jason. I don't know if you're into that game yet.
I have our podcast has a TikTok account. I do. I'm not doing TikTok dances just yet, but you never know.
Hey,
But look, it's one of those things where as a visiting player, when you come in and you get booed, it's about respect. And they wouldn't boo you if they didn't respect you. They might hate you, but they respect you because they respect you enough to boo you. So I think it's motivation for a visiting player. And I would have guessed that Bryce does pretty good in that spark.
he does now. I mean, the first game back, he drilled an upper decker home run in the second deck there, right near the scoreboard. I mean, that was kind of when we knew, like, well, this guy's gonna kill us the next 13 years. So, and he's on that way right now. But Jason, again, only a few more moments left here. One thing I dug up about you that I was kind of stunned, like, you don't eat dairy or gluten, and you also grew up with I think you started an organic farm. What's going on with this?
It was one of those things where I started buying farm ground when as I started making money, and as a getaway for after the season, to chase whitetails and hunt deer and turkey, but also to didn't want to be around conventional farming practices with all the spraying of the herbicides and all just the junk that they spray on crops. And I turned the farm into an organic farm and looked into all the practices and got into it. So I turned out, I didn't find out till I was about 29 years old that I was lactose intolerant, and I was having,
Oh,
they thought I had like autoimmune disorders and deficiencies and chronic fatigue and all these things. And it turned out I was just lactose intolerant. So it was a pretty simple, um, you know, way to feel better, just to not eat dairy and milk and cheese and stuff. And turns out I do a lot better without it. So
yeah.
the gluten thing, I think it's athletes look for every edge to perform and play, especially in the big leagues. You got to play every day. And the gluten thing was, just about inflammation, keeping inflammation down. If you look at it in terms of how long I played till I was 39 years old, and I took every advantage of that I could, whether it was the supplements I took, the food I ate, the way I trained. I invested in myself, and I think that was part of the reason why the Washington Nationals. I know it was why when Ted Lerner took a chance on me at 31 years old and gave me 7 years and a no trade at the time was a pretty big deal, and a
Hmm.
longer contract, larger amounts, but. after Ted, Mr. Lerner got to know me, he saw the way I took care of myself. He saw the way I trained. He listened to my ideas about the team, and that's I think ultimately what sold him on me was that I was invested in making the Washington Nationals a great franchise and a storied franchise, and I would take care of myself and play out my contract, and I did.
You did that, man. And now you're on to horse racing, which I do want to get into this real quick here. You're starring in a Netflix series here with, again, horse racing, like the race for the crown that is on Netflix. I mean,
Yeah.
what is it like to star in a Netflix documentary, man?
Well,
You've
I'll
done it.
tell you what, at the time you don't know, right? So he's like, hey, do you want to, do you care if we follow you around and do all this stuff? And then they preface it with like, obviously you're not going to be on the show if your horse doesn't win. And it's like, well, obviously, like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm no kidding. So I'm like, all right, yeah, sure, follow us around. Like, what if we win? Like, I'm like, well, if we win, we'll have these people documenting it. It'll be pretty cool. We'll always be able to go back and watch it. If we don't, we'll never see this video again. So it's one of those things where it's like, maybe we can jinx ourselves into this. It's like, what are the chances that we win? Obviously, we didn't win the Kentucky Derby. And then when they came in to, talk to us about the Belmont and all that stuff, I was like, yeah, sure. If you want, we'll do, whatever. I don't care. Turns out, I have no idea what's going to be on this documentary because I didn't even care. I was like, this is such a long shot. Like, there's almost no chance we win. We were 17-1 going into the Belmont. And although even though we believed in Doric and we thought he could win the Derby, we thought he'd win the Belmont. It was it was kind of like an afterthought. And then after he won, like, hey, we might actually be on that. We might actually be a part of that. What'd we say? It's like, well, so we have no idea what's coming. I obviously remember them being around, but when you play in the big leagues for 15 years, you got cameras around you and people talking, interviews, whatever, all the time. So it just becomes second nature. And that's why it didn't really bother me. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm used to having cameras around, no problem. So the good news is we won the Belmont, and
You did.
the one of the repercussions is we're gonna have to live with whatever this Netflix documentary looks like. So hopefully it's good. I think they did a good job. Horse racing needs something like this. It's horse racing has been going in the wrong direction for a long time. We started Icon Racing partnerships to bring new owners in. I think this sport needs new people, fresh look. You got owning horses is like owning your own franchise. If I'm offering people the ability to own horses on kind of a fractional level. You get it in on a fund and you own a bunch of horses and you follow them around. We've got pretty cool stuff going on our social media. Sean Kelly and I started a podcast, Off the Rail podcast, where we talk about the horses, we talk about the sport. We help new owners get into the sport. The barrier of entry is high, and we're breaking down those walls to get more people in and hopefully grow the sport, because I do think it's a great sport. The long-time stigmas that have been in the sport, those things have come and gone. They take great care of these horses. There's bad parts of anything. You want to talk to bad parts about rookie ball in the lower levels of the minor leagues, we can do it. So I've got these stupid hats made that say Marga on it, make horse racing great again. I think we're going for it. It's Off the Rail podcast, and our socials are Icon Racing LFG, and you can follow me at 28 Racing on some of those things too. I guess I pay people to run my accounts, but some of it's me, some of it's not. But we're here to grow the sport of horse racing because we love it.
Unbelievable, man. Real quick, last question. This is all I've always wondered this. Where the hell do you guys come up with these horses' names? Because it just sounds as if it's like you and your buddies drunk around a bonfire and you're just like Mohawk or Dornock, or how do these come up?
Well, it's just it's that, and if you notice, like the horses that win, they have great names. So
They do.
it's a process, and there's got to be meaning behind it, and there's you got to come up with something that fits the horse, and the horse has to run into his name sometimes too. So we talk about this on the podcast. Sean Kelly actually did name one night, and it's a funny story. If you go watch it, he named it Insubordination, and Sean was being insubordinate when he named it, and and it's just it's it's fun to talk about. It's fun to do it. And the horse racing, when you go to the races, the horses are the show, man. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Jayson, hey, we really appreciate you hopping on the pod today, man, and we wish you the best of luck coming up in the Kentucky Derby's just a few weeks away, man. So
yep.
Good luck
Flying
with everything.
Mohawk. Let's go, baby. Flying Mohawk, first Saturday in May. Everybody tune in.
Flying Mohawk. We're going to be tuning in on NBC4. So, Jayson, appreciate the time, man.
All right, take it easy. Thanks.
What an unbelievable interview with Jayson Werth there. What a guy. If you're a Nationals fan, spread the word. That was incredible. Talking about Jim Riggleman, Bryce Harper, the state of the Nationals. If you're a Nats fan out there, you got what you wanted. So now let me tell you guys about some of our very good friends over at PrizePicks. And of course, we have told you all about PrizePicks before, but basketball and hockey playoffs are heating up, and there's no better way to turn your sport knowledge into real rewards than with PrizePicks, the easiest, most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And with PrizePicks, you simply pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you're in. You can even combine players across sports, basketball, hockey, baseball, and more for your chance to win up to 2,000 times your cash. And here's what I'm picking this week. I've got Luka Doncic over more than 28 points and Jason Tatum for more than 8 rebounds. And if you're into hockey, I've got Connor McDavid over 1 goal and Austin Matthews for more than 5 shots on goal. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And what an unbelievable interview by Jayson Werth. We talked a lot about his former Nats stories here, and I wish we had more time with Jayson. But if you guys remember those days with the Nationals, like Jayson really kind of helped the Nationals get back into winning, and really not get back and just get started with winning. And it sounds as if that like he appreciates all the fans that have kind of let him know that throughout the years. He knew what his job was coming into 2011, and he certainly let everyone know that the Nationals, they were for real, and he helped them get to the promised land. And of course, like I think Jayson deserves a lot of credit for the culture that the Nationals built after that 2011 season, kind of having that run from 2012 all the way through 2017. That was a special Nationals team. It was really cool to see Jayson Werth share that experience with all of us here on Locked On Nationals. So if you haven't done so before, check us out wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, and of course, the video version over on YouTube that you can catch out over on YouTube. Again, just search Locked On Nationals. I'm Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11. And until then, I will catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good one. Go Nats.